I'll show you, you cheater. I'll knock all your damn teeth out. That's what my husband yelled the moment I walked out of the bathroom wearing only a towel. Then he grabbed me by the hair, dragged me to the entrance hallway, shoved me outside without any of my things, and slammed the door shut. His mother stood there, smiling like she had finally won. But just then, my dad pulled up in front of the building. And let me tell you, he showed both my husband and his mother exactly who the real boss was. But before I tell you the full story, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Now, let's begin. Monday started like any other day. I woke up at 6:30, made breakfast, and went to wake up Igor. He got out of bed slowly, his face tired and grumpy, barely looking at me. "Coffee," I said, pouring his usual strong brew into his favorite mug. "Thanks," he muttered, still not looking up. After 5 years of marriage, I was used to this. Igor was never a morning person. He always needed time to fully wake up, walking around like a zombie for at least 30 minutes. But today felt different. He kept tapping his fingers on the table, and his eyes were glued to his phone. "Is everything okay at work?" I asked. "It's fine," he snapped. I didn't push it, just shrugged, and went to get ready. I had an important day ahead, an architectural project for a new shopping center on the edge of the city. The clients were picky, but the work was interesting. Igor left earlier than usual, saying he had an important meeting. I sat down to finish my coffee, and when I noticed he'd left his jacket on the chair, I picked it up to hang it in the closet. It was heavy leather. As I lifted it, something fell out of the pocket. A folded note. The handwriting was neat and feminine. "I'll be waiting for you tomorrow at the usual place. Yours, M." I stared at it for a few seconds, not believing what I was seeing. Then I carefully folded it and put it back exactly where I found it. My heart was racing, but I made myself stay calm. Panicking wouldn't help. I needed to handle this like an adult. Maybe it was from a coworker? But what kind of coworker signs a note, "Yours, M"? I couldn't focus at work. I tried to draw floor plans, but my lines were shaky and measurements kept coming out wrong. My colleague, Maxim Viktorovich, asked me a few times if I was okay. "I'm just tired," I told him. "Maybe go home early," he offered. "No, I'll finish this." But my mind was spinning the whole time. Who was M? How long had this been going on? And what was I supposed to do now? That evening, Igor came home around 8. He usually got back by 6:30. "I was stuck at work," he said, giving me a quick kiss on the cheek. It felt cold and distant. I looked closely at him. His shirt was freshly ironed, like he had just put it on. But in the morning, it had been all wrinkled. "How are you?" he asked, pulling a beer from the fridge.
"Fine.
"And you? How was the meeting?" He froze for a second, beer in hand. "Oh, yeah, the meeting." He opened the bottle and took a long sip. Same old, same old. Nothing special." We ate in silence. Igor kept checking his phone, glancing at the screen and sometimes smiling. When I leaned in to peek, he quickly pulled the phone away. "Who's texting you?" I asked, trying to sound casual. "Just work stuff. Colleagues." We went to bed early. Igor turned his back to me and was asleep in minutes. But I lay there awake until 2 a.m., staring at the ceiling, thinking about the note. The next morning, I got up even earlier than usual. Igor was still slow to get ready, like always, but this time, I watched him closely. Every little move, he stood in front of the mirror longer than usual that morning, carefully fixing his hair, checking his appearance, and even changing his shirt twice. "Looking handsome today," I joked, trying to lighten the mood. "I just want to look presentable," he replied seriously. After he left, I called work and told them I was feeling sick. My boss grumbled something about deadlines, but in the end, let me stay home. I sat by the kitchen window where I could see the street and waited. Igor usually took the bus from the stop right across from our house. But that day, he walked right past it and turned down a side alley. I quickly threw on my jacket and followed him, keeping my distance. He walked with confidence, like he knew exactly where he was going. He stopped at a small cafe on the next street, Cafe Ujit. He stood at the door for a second, fixed his hair, and went inside. After waiting a couple of minutes, I followed him in. The cafe was small and cozy, with wooden tables and checkered tablecloths. Igor was sitting in the far corner with his back to the entrance. Across from him sat a young woman, maybe 18 years old, with bright red hair. She was pretty, wearing a beige sweater and black pants. I quietly sat at a table by the window, held up the menu to cover my face, and watched them. They were talking and laughing. At one point, Igor leaned forward and took her hand. She didn't pull away, she squeezed his fingers in return. My stomach turned. I pulled out my phone and snapped a few photos. The quality wasn't great. They were sitting far, but their faces were clearly visible. They stayed in the cafe for about an hour. When they got up to leave, I slipped outside quickly and waited around the corner. I took more photos as they walked out. Out on the street, they acted even more openly. Igor put his arm around her waist. She leaned into him, holding his shoulder. Then they kissed. Not a polite kiss, not friendly. It was long, passionate. I felt like I couldn't breathe. 5 years of marriage, and he was kissing someone else like I didn't even exist. They parted near the bus stop. The girl got on bus number 8. Igor headed in the direction of his office, like nothing had happened. I went back home, sat at the kitchen table, and kept scrolling through the pictures on my phone. I had proof now. But strangely, I didn't feel angry. I didn't want to scream or cry. Instead, I felt a strange calm settle over me. Cold. Clear. I needed to find out the whole truth. Who was that girl? How long had this been going on? And why now? That evening, Igor came home on time. He was even more cheerful and talkative than usual, telling me stories from work, asking about my day. But I could tell. He was trying too hard. It didn't feel real. How's work going? I asked over dinner. Great. I closed a big deal today. The boss was really happy. That's nice, I said. Did you go out to celebrate? No time. Too much to do. He lied so easily, so smoothly. Like he'd done it 100 times before. And maybe he had. The next day, Wednesday, my mother-in-law came over. Valentina Ivanovna lived on the other side of the city, but dropped by now and then to check on her precious son. Normally, her visits annoyed me. She always criticized my cooking, made comments about the house, and told me how I should be taking better care of her son. But today was different. She was unusually sweet. My dear Tanechka, how are you? She asked, even kissing me on both cheeks, something she almost never did. I'm fine, Valentina Ivanovna. That's wonderful. And how's my Igor? Not overworking himself, I hope. I don't think so. He works a lot, but that's normal, I said. Of course it's normal, his mother replied, gently stroking Igor's head like he was a little boy. My son is such a hard-working, responsible, golden-hearted man. Igor smiled shyly, but I could see he enjoyed her praise. It's just a shame they don't value him at work, Valentina Ivanovna went on. A man like him should have been promoted years ago. Mom, it's fine. Igor tried to stop her. What's fine about it? She snapped. You've been stuck in the same job for 5 years. Other people are moving up and no one even notices you. It's just not fair. She said this while looking straight at me, like I was the one to blame for her son's stalled career. Then she poured herself some tea and stirred the sugar slowly. Not every woman knows how to appreciate a good man, she added. Some wives think they deserve everything, but give nothing in return. Mom, Igor muttered, turning red. What? I'm just telling the truth, she said firmly. A man should feel like the head of the family, a protector, the breadwinner. But if the wife does nothing but work and chase her career, then where's the warmth in the home? I drank my tea in silence. Normally, I would have defended myself, told her I loved my job and I wasn't trying to take anything away from her son. But today, I just listened. I wanted to see where she was going with this. Of course, everyone deserves to pursue their goals, Valentina said with a fake diplomatic tone. But family should always come first, especially if the husband is going through a difficult time. What difficult time? I finally asked. She looked at Igor with a pitying smile. Well, he's unhappy at work, no growth, no future. A man in that state needs support, understanding, tenderness. She said tenderness slowly, with extra meaning, and looked right at me. After she left, Igor was quiet. He sat in front of the TV, flipping through channels, not really watching. "What are you thinking about?" I asked. "Oh, nothing really. Just. Mom's probably right about work," he said with a shrug. "I don't know. Maybe. Do you want to talk about it?" "There's nothing to talk about." I didn't push. I went to the bedroom, lay down with a book, but I couldn't concentrate. Her words kept spinning in my head. Not every woman knows how to appreciate a good man. A man needs support and understanding. Did she know about Igor's affair? Not only know, but actually approve of it? Was I the only one in the dark, while the rest of them already had plans for my place in this family? On Thursday morning, Igor left early again. I followed him, and again, he went to the Ujit Cafe. This time, I didn't go in. I decided to stop spying. Instead, I stayed home and tried to stay calm. But that evening, something strange happened. Valentina Ivanovna called. She said she had left her umbrella at our place and asked if I could give it to her through Igor the next day. But there was no umbrella. I even checked carefully. "That's odd," Igor said. "Maybe Mom's confused." "Maybe," I replied. But half an hour later, she called again. "Igor, I just remembered. I didn't leave the umbrella with you, but with Klavdia Semyonovna. Sorry to bother you again." "It's fine, Mom," he said. "It happens." He hung up, but I couldn't help thinking, why did she need to call twice just to check if we were home? My suspicion was confirmed that evening. I was in the kitchen washing dishes when I heard Valentina Ivanovna speaking quietly on the phone in the hallway. I turned off the water and listened closely. I couldn't hear every word, but I caught enough. "Don't worry, sweetheart. Everything will change soon." My heart sank. My Igor will finally understand who he really needs to be happy. "Yes." That's what she said. Yes, of course. Just be patient, darling. A little more patience. I froze. She was talking to Igor's mistress. And not only did she know about the affair, she was helping it. "She'll soon understand she's not needed," she said. "A smart woman will leave on her own before things get worse." I crept quietly toward the hallway and peeked around the corner. My mother-in-law stood there with her back to me, still on the phone. "Of course, my dear. You're much better for my son. Young, beautiful, understanding. Not like some women who only care about their career." She kept talking for another 5 minutes, but I had heard enough. There really was a plan. She had picked out a new daughter-in-law for her son, and now she was working to get rid of me. But why? "The apartment we live in, it's mine. I inherited it from my aunt. In case of divorce, Igor has no legal right to it. So, what exactly were they hoping to gain?" And then it hit me. Valentina Ivanovna is old-fashioned. To her, divorce is shameful, especially if it's the woman who files for it. But if the wife walks away on her own, realizing she's not wanted, then people will take the side of the poor man left behind by a cold-hearted career woman. My mother-in-law was counting on me breaking down from all the emotional pressure and filing for divorce myself. Then she could go around telling everyone what a terrible wife I was, how I couldn't hold the family together and drove a good man to cheat. Clever plan, but she overlooked one thing. I'm not the kind of woman who gives up that easily. On Friday morning, I got up early and made Igor his favorite pancakes with cottage cheese. I set the table nicely, even put fresh flowers in a vase. "Wow," he said, surprised. "What's the occasion?" "No reason," I smiled. "I just wanted to do something nice." We had breakfast together and talked about the weekend. Igor even suggested going to the movies. "With pleasure," I said. He left for work in a good mood, thinking everything was just fine. And I sat down at the kitchen table and started planning my next move. Things were finally starting to make sense. My husband was cheating with a red-haired girl. My mother-in-law was helping him, hoping I'd walk away. They thought I didn't know, but that gave me an advantage. Still, I needed more information. Who was the girl? How did they meet? What had Valentina promised her? I made a decision. Starting Monday, I'd begin my own investigation. Let's see who outsmarts who. Friday went by quietly. We actually went to the movies and then had dinner at a restaurant. Igor was sweet, caring, almost like when we first met. But I knew it was just an act. He was pretending to be the perfect husband, hoping I wouldn't suspect anything. And tomorrow, I was sure he'd run right back to his red-haired sweetheart. As I lay in bed that night, I thought about how much had changed in just a few days. On Monday, I thought I was in a happy marriage, making plans for the future, even dreaming about kids. Now I knew the truth. The man I loved was lying to me. It hurt, of course it did, but not enough to make me give up. Igor and his dear mommy seriously underestimated me. If they think Tatiana Morozova will just sit quietly and accept humiliation, they're dead wrong. Yes, the cracks in our marriage were showing. But if anyone was going to tear this house down, it would be me. And I'd do it my way. On Saturday morning, I woke up with a clear plan. Igor was still asleep, arms spread across the bed. I looked at him and thought, is this man really capable of something so low? 5 years ago, he seemed honest, trustworthy. Now he lies without blinking. I quietly got up, went into the kitchen, and took out the business card my father gave me 2 years ago. It was back when the neighbor's summer house got robbed, and the police didn't help at all. My dad had suggested a private detective, Valery Nikolaevich-Stupnikov. Private investigations. Missing people. Family matters. I dialed the number. A serious male voice picked up. Stupnikov. I'm listening. Mr. Stupnikov, you were recommended to me by Anatoly Petrovich Morozov. I need your help. I respect Anatoly Petrovich. Are you his daughter? Yes. What's the issue? I explained the situation briefly. Told him I suspected my husband of cheating and wanted to know the full truth. I see, he said. When can we meet? Today, if possible. Of course. Meet me in 1 hour at the Victory Park Monument. I'm tall, gray hair, brown jacket. You'll recognize me. Igor woke up just as I was about to leave. Where are you going so early? He asked, yawning. Lena asked me to help her with some repairs. I lied. I thought we'd spend the weekend together. He stretched and smiled. Missed you this week. Liar, I thought. Who exactly did you miss? Me or your red-haired girlfriend? I'll be back this evening, I said. I'll cook something nice. Victory Park was almost empty. It was still early for Saturday crowds. Just as he described, Valery Nikolaevich was waiting near the monument. About 50 years old, tall, with kind but sharp gray eyes. Tatiana, he said, reaching out to shake my hand. Valery, I replied. We sat on a bench away from the paths. I told him everything I had discovered during the week. The note I found, following Igor, the phone call I overheard from my mother-in-law. A classic case, he said, nodding. The mother-in-law doesn't like the daughter-in-law and tries to replace her with someone she approves of. I've handled dozens of similar cases. And how do they usually end? I asked. It depends. Sometimes the husband wakes up and ends the affair. Sometimes it leads to divorce. But your case has some interesting twists. Which one? The apartment belongs to you, right? That means if you get divorced, your husband won't get anything. Maybe your mother-in-law is hoping her son will end up with your money. I nodded. That's exactly what I'm worried about. What are they planning? Let's find out, he said. Give me 3 or 4 days. I'll learn everything about your husband's girlfriend, watch their relationship, and, most importantly, figure out what your mother-in-law is up to. How much will this cost? For the daughter of Prosecutor Morozov? Just a small fee. Your father helped me a lot once. We agreed. He would call me every day with updates. For now, I had to act normal and pretend like I didn't know anything. The rest of the weekend felt strange, like we were pretending to be a happy family. Igor played the role of a caring husband. I acted like a loving wife. We went shopping, cooked together, watched movies, but every word, every smile felt fake. On Sunday, Valentina Ivanovna, my mother-in-law, showed up with pies and immediately started complimenting Igor. Igor, you look great. Got some rest over the weekend? He sure did, I replied. He looks very good. You see, son, your wife notices. Not all women do. A man needs to feel appreciated. She said that while staring right at me. What did she mean by that? That he looks good because he has a girlfriend? She went on. A man in his prime should feel wanted. If he's not respected at home, he starts looking for attention elsewhere. Mom, Igor tried to stop her. What? I'm just saying the truth. Some wives think a marriage license means their husband will stay forever. But in reality, a man needs to be won over again and again. I stayed quiet, pouring tea, but inside I was boiling. How dare she lecture me about marriage while helping her son cheat? Of course, cheating is wrong, she added, but sometimes a man just can't handle his wife's coldness, and he looks for warmth from another woman. Interesting, I said, unable to stay silent. And if the wife finds out, what should she do? Well, that depends, she said with a smirk. If she's smart, she'll realize she's the one at fault and try to fix things. If she's foolish, she'll make a scene and lose her husband forever. So the wife is always to blame? Of course. A man only cheats when he's missing something at home. I looked at Igor. He sat there, red-faced, nervously playing with his napkin, saying nothing. The next morning, I got a call from Valery Nikolaevich. Tatiana, I've got the first results. Can we meet? Of course. Where? Same place. In 1 hour. I lied to work again and went to the park. Valery was waiting with a folder in his hands. Your husband's girlfriend is Marina Kostina, he said right away. She's 26, works as a saleswoman at a women's boutique called Elegant on Tverskaya Street. She lives alone in a rented one-bedroom apartment. They've known each other for a while. And here's the most interesting part. He opened the folder. Your mother-in-law introduced them. My heart froze. 3 months ago, Valentina went to the boutique to buy a dress. She started chatting with a salesgirl, found out the girl was single, and started complaining about her son's marriage problems. I couldn't believe it. She brought Igor to the store the next day, pretending they were shopping for a gift for you. Then she introduced him to Marina as an unhappy man with a cold, career-obsessed wife. No way, I whispered. I have a witness, he said. Another saleswoman overheard everything. She said your mother-in-law told Marina, a good man like him needs a young, caring wife, not a workaholic career woman. I felt sick. So this wasn't just an affair. His own mother set it up. That's not all, the detective continued. Yesterday, I followed your mother-in-law. She met Marina at a cafe on Lennon Street. They spoke for a long time, very privately. About what? Listen for yourself. He pulled out a small recorder and pressed play. I instantly recognized Valentina's voice. Don't worry, sweetheart. Igor is very unhappy in his marriage. His wife doesn't understand him at all. All she cares about is her job. He needs love, and you're such a kind, gentle girl. He deserves real happiness. What happens next? What do you think? He's going to get a divorce, of course. I already talked to him about it. He knows now that marrying Tatiana was a mistake. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Igor is talking about divorce with his mom? The recording kept playing. But the apartment belongs to her. So what? Igor will find a better job. We'll rent a nice apartment for now, and later we'll buy one. The most important thing is that he's happy with a woman who really loves him. Do you think he'll really marry me? Of course. I'm not just anyone. I'm his mother. I know him better than anyone else. He already sees that Tatiana isn't right for him. She's cold. She's not feminine enough. But you are exactly what he needs. The detective stopped the recording. I sat there in silence, trying to understand what I had just heard. There's more, Valery Nikolaevich said. But it might really upset you. I nodded. It can't get worse than this. It can. Your mother-in-law isn't just setting your husband up with his mistress. She's also gathering dirt on you. What kind of dirt? He pulled out some photos. The first photo showed me standing outside the office, talking to my coworker, Maxim. The second photo showed us walking into a cafe. The third one showed us sitting at a table. He's just my coworker. We were talking about work. I know. But look at how the photos were taken. Here it looks like he's hugging you by the waist. Here, it looks like he's kissing you on the cheek. The angles made everything look much more suspicious than it really was. Who took these photos? Your mother-in-law. She's been following you for 2 months. And that's not all. She has even more pictures of you. With other coworkers, with your neighbor Uncle Petya, even with the delivery guy who brought some documents. I flipped through the photos and felt worse with each one. Valentina Ivanovna had made every normal interaction with a man look inappropriate. This is ridiculous, I shouted. Anyone with common sense will see these are just normal conversations. Yes, a reasonable person would. But a jealous husband? Especially one with a mother whispering in his ear that his wife is always out, always smiling, and spending time with other men. My God, she's trying to make me look like a cheater. Exactly. This is a classic trick. Blame the other person for what you're guilty of. So Igor is cheating, but I'll be the one who looks guilty. The detective took out another folder. These are recordings of your phone calls. She listens to my calls. Not just listens. She records them. There's a recording device in your apartment. If you talk on the phone in the kitchen or the living room, it's all saved. He played a recording. It was my voice, talking to my friend Lena. Lena, I'm tired of this family life. Sometimes I wonder if it was even worth getting married. What happened? Nothing really, just the same boring routine. It's like Igor lost interest in me. He just comes home, eats, watches TV, and that's it. Maybe he likes someone else? I don't know. I hope not. The recording ended. Valerie looked at me. Do you remember this call? Yes, about a month ago. I was just venting to a friend. Now imagine how that sounds to Igor. Tired of family life. Was it even worth getting married? Lost interest. And now, add the photos that look like I have a lover? That's when the full horror hit me. Valentina Ivanovna had spent months setting a trap. She didn't just help her son cheat. She was building fake evidence to make it look like I was the one being unfaithful. What's she planning to do with all of this? Most likely, she'll show everything to Igor soon. She'll convince him that you're cheating, that the marriage is over, and he needs to file for divorce. And if he files first, everyone will believe him. He'll look like the victim. My wife cheated on me, and people will take his side. But the apartment will still be mine. Yes, technically. But they might try to go to court and claim it's joint property. They'll say Igor paid for repairs, bought furniture, and helped set everything up. A good lawyer could demand a share. And if they don't win in court, there's another plan. Igor will stay with his mother and marry Marina. Valentina Ivanovna will start telling everyone that you ruined the family, that you pushed a good man into cheating. In a small town, reputation matters. I sat there, stunned. My mother-in-law had planned everything, down to the last detail. She found a mistress for her son, gathered fake evidence against me, and was now working to turn everyone against me. All that was left was to strike the final blow. Valerie Nikolaevich, I asked the detective, what if I show Igor everything now, photos, recordings, proof that he's the one cheating? I wouldn't recommend it, he replied. He'll deny it. He'll say it's fake or a misunderstanding. His mother will convince him you made it all up to distract from your own affairs. Then what should I do?
Wait.
Let them play their hand first. When your mother-in-law brings out her so-called evidence, then you hit back with the truth. We have the recordings. We know she set this all up. And if Igor still believes her, then you'll know what kind of man he really is. Only you can decide if he's worth fighting for. We agreed. The detective would continue watching and collecting proof. For now, I had to pretend like nothing was wrong. Just play the role of a loving, unsuspecting wife. Tuesday and Wednesday were tense. Igor acted strange, sometimes too sweet, sometimes cold and distant. Valentina Ivanovna came by every day. She claimed she was helping around the house, but really, she was just snooping, watching, waiting for something to twist into her next accusation. Tanechka, she said Tuesday while dusting the dresser. Have you noticed that Igor has been kind of sad lately? No, I haven't, I said. A mother can feel when her child is upset. He's worried about something. About what? Who knows, maybe it's work. Or maybe not everything is okay at home. She looked me straight in the eyes, obviously hoping I'd say something suspicious. What could possibly be wrong? I asked calmly. You never know, she sighed. A man knows when his wife doesn't understand him, when she's off doing her own thing, and he's left behind. I don't get what you're trying to say. Oh, no, I'm not talking about you, dear, she said quickly. Just in general. You know, so many marriages fall apart because couples stop listening to each other. On Wednesday, she brought a magazine about relationships and told me I should read an article titled, How to Recognize a Relationship Crisis. A very helpful article, she said. It explains how to spot warning signs early, before it's too late. I flipped through it. She had underlined whole paragraphs in red. The partner becomes distant, secrets appear, intimacy fades, one person starts looking for connection elsewhere. Interesting, I nodded. Thanks. You're welcome, dear. The key is not to ignore the signs. When a man starts pulling away, you need to act fast. Thursday morning, the detective called. Tatiana, he said, things are speeding up. Your mother-in-law had a long talk with Igor yesterday. Today, they'll meet again at her apartment. He's already told his work he'll be late. Do you think she's going to show him everything? I'm sure of it. Be ready for a serious conversation, either today or tomorrow. I'm ready, I said. The most important thing is to stay calm. No matter what he says, don't admit to anything you didn't do. Remember, we have the truth. We have proof. We'll be ready. That night, Igor came home late, around 10 p.m. He looked tense. His eyes were restless. He ate in silence and barely responded to my questions. Did something happen? I asked. No. Just tired. Everything okay at work? Yes. Mom's fine. Great. He went to bed early, but I could tell he wasn't sleeping. He kept tossing, turning, sighing. And I just lay there thinking, will it all really end tomorrow? 5 years of marriage just gone? All because of her? Or was it something more? Maybe the truth is, Igor wanted to leave. Maybe he just needed an excuse. And his mother gave it to him, handed him a new life, with a sweet young girl who would adore him and expect nothing in return. I thought back to our early days. He seemed perfect, like a dream. So loving, romantic, full of compliments and poetry. When did it all fade? When did he stop seeing me? Or maybe he was never really that man. Maybe the poems, the flowers, the smiles, they were just part of the act. Maybe all he ever wanted was a comfy apartment and a stable life. And now he found a new path, a new girl, and a mother who's ready to help him throw me away. On Friday morning, Igor woke up looking even more upset than usual. He ate breakfast without making eye contact and didn't respond when I tried to talk to him. Igor, what's wrong? I asked directly. You look like you're going to a funeral. He finally looked up at me. His eyes were heavy, like he had made some big decision. Tatiana, we need to talk. Okay, let's talk. Not now. Tonight. It's serious. My heart started beating faster. It's happening. What are we going to talk about? You'll find out tonight, he said and left for work. I stayed behind, lost in my thoughts. So I thought his mother must have shown him the fake evidence. Now Igor probably thinks I'm the one cheating and wants a divorce. Will he even try to find out the truth? Or maybe it doesn't matter to him. Maybe he just needed an excuse to leave me for that girl. I took out a folder I had hidden. It had everything. Photos of Igor with Marina. Recordings of his mom's conversations. Documents showing how they planned it all. I now had a full picture of their plan. But they both underestimated me. Igor thought I knew nothing. Valentina Ivanovna believed her plan had worked. But they were wrong. Tatiana Morozova, was not the kind of woman to give up without a fight. This evening was going to be interesting. That Friday actually started in the middle of the night. At 12:30 a.m., I got a call from Valery Nikolaevich, the detective. Tatiana, urgent news. Your mother-in-law is going to Igor's office today. She has a big folder with her, probably everything she collected. So this was it. Today was the big day. Stay strong, he said. And no matter what happens, don't admit to anything you didn't do. In the morning, Igor left for work like normal, not suspecting a thing. I walked him to the door, gave him a kiss. He kissed me back, but he was clearly distracted. "See you later," I said. "Yes, see you," he mumbled, without looking me in the eyes. I knew when I saw him again, something would have changed. All day, I was a mess. I tried to work, but my hands shook. I tried to read, but I couldn't focus. Even washing dishes felt difficult. At 3 p.m., the detective called again. "Your mother-in-law stayed in Igor's office for 2 hours. They looked at documents, listened to the recordings. Igor looked very upset, kept holding his head. She left looking satisfied. He told everyone not to bother him the rest of the day. So the bomb was planted. Now it was just a matter of time before it exploded." Igor came home around 6:30 p.m. His face looked hard. His eyes were full of anger. He walked right past me and sat at the kitchen table, staring at the wall. "How are you?" I asked, acting like nothing was wrong. "I'm fine. Do you want dinner?" "Yes." I warmed up the soup and put it in front of him. He ate quietly, but I could feel the anger inside him. He looked up at me a few times, and each time, his eyes were full of suspicion and coldness. "Igor, what happened?" I asked again. "Nothing." "You seem different." "Different." He gave a strange smile. "And what should I be?" "I don't know. Just normal." "Normal," he repeated, then put down his spoon and looked at me. "And what does normal mean to you, Tatiana?" His voice had something cold and unfamiliar in it. It almost scared me. "Igor, tell me what's going on." "I will. Tomorrow." "I'm not ready to talk today." He got up and went to the bedroom. Later I heard the TV, but when I peeked in, he was just lying on the bed, staring at the ceiling. The TV was just on for noise. That night, he turned away from me in bed. When I tried to hug him, he pulled away. "No need. Just sleep." I couldn't sleep. I lay awake all night. He kept tossing and turning. I could feel the coldness coming from him. Tomorrow it will all be over, one way or another. Saturday started with a visit from my mother-in-law. She showed up at 8 a.m. with a big bag of groceries. "I came to have breakfast with my grandkids," she said cheerfully, kissing Igor on the cheek. He looked exhausted, like he hadn't slept. He hugged her like a little boy. "Didn't sleep well?" she asked softly. "Hard to sleep when your soul feels heavy," he said, while looking at me. Her eyes had a look of victory in them. "I'll make your favorite pancakes," she told Igor. "And you, Tanechka, can rest. I'll handle everything." That was strange. She never cooked at our place. She always said it was the wife's job. But today, she was acting like queen of the kitchen. Breakfast was quiet and tense. She kept glancing at Igor. He avoided looking at me. I pretended to read the newspaper, but I saw everything. Finally, she spoke. "Igorek, remember what we talked about yesterday? About how people sometimes live in illusions." "I remember, Mom. I think it's better to know the truth, even if it hurts, than to live in lies." "I agree," he said quietly. "Some women think they can lie to their husbands forever. They believe the man won't notice anything." Igor clenched his jaw and nodded. "Unfortunately, yes." "But," Valentina Ivanovna continued, "sooner or later, the truth comes out. And then those women have to face the consequences." I looked up from my newspaper. "What are you talking about, Valentina Ivanovna?" "Oh, nothing specific," she smiled sweetly. "Just thinking about life. About how important it is to be honest with the people we love." "Yes, honesty is the foundation of a strong family," I replied. "Exactly," she said, clapping her hands. "And if one partner starts lying or cheating, what's left of the marriage?" "Nothing," Igor said quietly. "Right, my son. Nothing but pain and disappointment." They talked about me, as if I wasn't even there. Valentina Ivanovna was enjoying herself. Her plan had worked. Her son believed I was cheating, and now they could celebrate that victory together. After breakfast, she left. But before she did, she hugged Igor and whispered something in his ear. I didn't hear what she said, but he nodded, and his face became even more serious. "Igor, I said when we were finally alone. Let's talk. Let's clear things up.
Not now. Tomorrow morning, he replied.
Why not now? He looked at me for a long moment. Because I need to be sure. Absolutely sure. Sure of what? You'll find out tomorrow. He stayed home all day, but acted like a stranger. He watched TV, read the newspaper, but barely spoke to me. When I tried to talk to him, he just gave short answers or didn't respond at all. By evening, I couldn't take it anymore. Igor, this is not okay. We're adults. Whatever's going on, let's just talk about it. Adults, he repeated, with a bitter smile. Interesting word coming from you. What does that mean? Never mind. Everything will be clear tomorrow. That evening, while I was washing dishes, the phone rang. Igor was in the shower, so I picked it up. Hello? Tatiana? A man's voice. One I didn't recognize. Yes? Who is this? It's Maxim, he said casually. I frowned. Which Maxim? My colleague Maxim Viktorovich always used his full name. I'm sorry, which Maxim? Come on, you're Maxim. We planned to meet tomorrow. I didn't make any plans to meet anyone. Tatiana, are you kidding? You asked me yourself. Tomorrow, at the park, near the fountain. You must be mistaken. I haven't asked anyone to meet. But you're Tatiana Morozova, right? Yes, but I don't know any Maxim except my colleague, and I didn't arrange to meet anyone. Strange. Maybe you forgot? We had such a nice time at the cafe last week. I was at a cafe with my coworker. That's it. Tatiana, stop pretending. Why the games? His voice was getting pushy. I started to feel very uncomfortable. Listen, I said firmly. I don't know who you are, but please don't call again. And I hung up. 1 minute later, the phone rang again. Same voice. Tatiana, don't hang up. We need to talk. I don't need to talk to you. I never said anything. Don't call again. I hung up again and pulled the phone cord from the wall. What was that? Some creep? A prank? Igor came out of the shower. Who was that? Some stranger, I said. He claimed we arranged to meet. What stranger? He said his name was Maxim. But not my coworker. Completely different voice. Igor turned to me sharply. Maxim, he repeated. Yes, why? Nothing, he said, but I could see something had changed in his face. Igor, do you know who this could be? How should I know you're friends? He put extra stress on that last word, and my stomach dropped. Was this some setup? Did someone call on purpose, just so Igor would hear it? The next morning, Sunday, the doorbell rang at 8:30. I was in the bathroom taking a shower. I heard Igor open the door and speak to someone in a low voice. When I came out of the bathroom wrapped in a towel, Igor and his mother were standing in the hallway. Valentina Ivanovna held a small recorder in her hand. Tatiana, she said with fake happiness. Perfect timing. We were just talking about something. What is it? She pressed play on the recorder. Voices came out, mine and a man's. It was the same voice from the phone call last night. Maxim. Yes, it's me. How are you?
Good.
And you? I miss you. When will we see each other? I don't know. It's hard right now. Maybe tomorrow at our place. Okay, I'm waiting. I listened in horror. The voice sounded like mine, but I had never said those things. It was fake. It was clearly edited. That's not me, I shouted. That's fake. A fake recording. Valentina Ivanovna pretended to be shocked. But it's your voice, dear. The voice sounds like mine, but I didn't say those things, I answered. Tatiana, Igor said quietly, stop lying. I looked at him. His face was pale with anger, and his hands were clenched into fists. Igor, please believe me. That call was fake. A strange man called me yesterday, and I refused to meet him. Sure, my mother-in-law smirked, and then she called him back and agreed to meet. I didn't call anyone back. Tatiana. Igor stepped closer. I know everything. Mom showed me the photos and the recordings of your conversations. You've been cheating on me for months. What photos? What recordings? I asked. Valentina Ivanovna pulled out a folder and dropped some photos on the table. I saw myself with Maxim Viktorovich, with our neighbor Uncle Petya, and even with the delivery guy. All the photos were taken from tricky angles that made simple conversations look like romantic meetings. These are my co-workers, I shouted. We work together. Work. Igor picked up one of the pictures. And this is a business meeting? In the photo, I was hugging Uncle Petya. I remember that moment. His wife had just passed away, and he was crying. I was only comforting him. Igor, that's Uncle Petya. His wife died recently. He was very upset. I was just comforting him. Comforting him? Igor's eyes were red with fury. That's how you comfort men? Calm down, Valentina Ivanovna interrupted. Don't yell at her. She's sick. Sick, she continued. Of course. A normal woman wouldn't cheat on such a good husband. But her? Clearly, something's wrong with her. I looked at both of them. They were out of their minds. Or rather, my mother-in-law was so obsessed with getting rid of me, she'd convinced Igor to believe every lie. Igor, I tried to stay calm. Please listen. All of these photos and recordings are fake. Your mom is trying to destroy our family. My mom? He turned to her. Mom, did you hear that? She says you set all this up. Of course I did, Valentina Ivanovna said dramatically. I hired the photographers, made her cheat, and even recorded her conversations myself. Yes, I shouted. That's exactly what happened. Igor looked at me with disgust. Tatyana, do you hear yourself? You're accusing my mother of spying on you and faking evidence. I hear myself, I said firmly, and I'm telling the truth. He grabbed my shoulders and shook me. The truth is, you're a liar. The truth is, you're sleeping around with every man you meet. Let go of me. I won't. I lived with you for 5 years. I loved you. And you, his face twisted with rage. Valentina Ivanovna stood to the side, clearly enjoying every second. Igor, please wake up. I yelled. Can't you see you're being used? Used? By who? By your mother. She's the one who found you a new girlfriend. She's been collecting fake evidence on me so you'll divorce me. What girlfriend? He asked, taking a step back. Marina, the redhead from the boutique. Your mother introduced her to you. Igor suddenly turned pale. So he had been thinking about Marina.
He didn't expect me to know.
How do you know about that? He asked. I know everything. I know your mother promised Marina you'd leave me and marry her. Valentina Ivanovna stepped forward. Igor, don't listen to her. She's just being dramatic. She's saying crazy things. Crazy. I looked at her. What about your little meetings with Marina at the cafe? What about when you told her Igor deserves real love? She flinched but quickly pulled herself together. I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do, I said. And you know that I have recordings of your conversations. What recordings? Igor looked at me, then at his mother. I realized I had said too much, but it was too late to turn back. There are recordings, pictures, and proof that your mother planned this whole thing. Son, Valentina Ivanovna grabbed his hand. Can't you see? She's lost her mind. She's making things up and blaming me for everything. We did it, I screamed. Everyone was doing it. And you know what? I could prove it. I ran to the bedroom, heading for the closet where I kept the folder with the evidence. But I didn't even make it 2 steps. Igor grabbed my arm and spun me around to face him. His face was red with anger, twisted with hate. That's it, he growled. Enough. I'm tired of your lies. Igor, let me go. I shouted. I won't. You've been lying to me for 5 years. You've looked me in the eye and lied, and now you're even dragging my mother into it. I'm not lying. I have proof. Shut up, he said, shaking me hard. Shut up already. He was out of control. I'll fix you, cheater, he shouted as I came out of the bathroom wearing just a towel. Then he grabbed my hair, dragged me to the front door, and shoved me outside, barefoot, without my clothes, and slammed the door shut. His mother was thrilled. She thought she'd finally won. But just then, my dad showed up, and he put both Igor and his mother in their place. I stood there on the landing, barefoot, shivering in a towel, my hair a mess. The cold air stung my skin. I wanted the ground to swallow me up. I could hear voices behind the door. Igor was explaining something to his mother. She was trying to calm him down. They probably thought it was over, that they had beaten me. I rang the doorbell. No answer. I knocked. Still nothing. They must have thought I'd go ask the neighbors for help, then come back and beg to be let in. They had no idea who they were dealing with. I heard the entrance door downstairs open. A man's footsteps came up the stairs. I pressed myself against the wall, hoping he'd pass by. But the steps kept coming closer. A man in a dark coat appeared. When he looked up, I saw his face. "Dad," I whispered. Anatoly Petrovich froze. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with cold fury. "Tanechka," he said. "What's going on?" "Dad. Igor kicked me out. He thinks I cheated on him." My father walked up, took off his coat, and wrapped it around me. "Where are your keys?" he asked. "They're inside." "Got it." He rang the doorbell. Long and firm. Igor's voice came from inside. "Tatiana, stop it. You're not coming back in." "This isn't Tatiana," my father said calmly. "It's her father. Open the door." There was silence, then the sound of the locks. Igor opened the door, looking shocked. "Anatoly Petrovich." "Hello, Igor. May I come in?" Igor stepped aside. My dad walked in and I followed. Valentina Ivanovna was in the hallway, clearly not happy. "Hello, Valentina Ivanovna," my father said. "Anatoly Petrovich." She gave a forced smile. "What a surprise. Igor and I were just having a family talk." "I see." My dad glanced at the photos and a voice recorder on the table. "Interesting materials you've got here." "You understand, right?" Igor said. "Tatiana, she cheated." "She what?" My father's voice was quiet, but sharp. "We have proof. Let me see it." Valentina quickly gathered the photos into a pile. "Why do you want to see these upsetting things?" she said. "Give them to me." She reluctantly handed him the photos. He looked through them carefully. "Here, she's talking to a colleague. Here with a neighbor. And this, a courier from our office," I said softly. "Got it. What's on this recorder?" Valentina pressed play. My dad listened to the staged recording. "You really think this proves anything? Isn't it enough?" she snapped. "For me," he said, "it's plenty." Then he pulled out his own recorder. "Let me show you something too." He pressed play. My mother-in-law's voice came out. "Igor's so unhappy in his marriage. His wife doesn't understand him. She only cares about work." Valentina's face went pale. "He deserves real love. And you're so sweet and caring." Igor turned to his mom in shock. "Mom, what is this?" My dad calmly answered. "That's a recording of your mother speaking to your girlfriend. I arranged a meeting at a cafe 2 days ago." "Where did you get this?" Valentina stammered. "I have a lot." My dad pulled a folder from his briefcase. "Here are photos of Igor with the red-haired girl. Here are documents showing how you introduced them. And here are recordings of your calls with her." Igor snatched the folder and flipped through it. His face got paler with every page. "Mom," he whispered, "what is this?" "I can explain." "What exactly?" my dad said, staring him down. "That your mom found you a mistress? Or that she's been collecting fake evidence against my daughter for months?" "Anatoly Petrovich, you don't understand." "I understand everything perfectly. You wanted to get rid of your daughter-in-law. So you set up an affair for your son, faked proof of her cheating, and drove her husband so crazy he kicked her out of the house." "That's not true," my mother-in-law shouted. "I just wanted the best. Tatiana isn't right for my son." "Not right," my dad said calmly as he pulled out another paper. "And what's this?" I looked over his shoulder. It was a copy of the apartment ownership document. "This apartment belongs to my daughter," my dad explained. "She inherited it before the marriage. Igor lives here only because Tatiana was kind enough to let him." He paused, then added, "But you thought that if she left on her own, people would take your son's side. And then maybe you could try to sue her for part of the apartment." Valentina Ivanovna opened her mouth, but no words came out. "But here's the thing," Dad said, putting the documents away. I'm a former lawyer. I know the law. And in this situation, Igor won't get anything. Igor dropped into a chair and held his head in his hands. Mom, is this really true? Did you set all this up? I just wanted you to be happy, she whispered. Happiness? You made me cheat on my wife. You pushed me until I threw her out, wearing just a towel. She's not right for you, his mom shouted. She's cold, too focused on work. But Marina is kind and young. Igor raised his head. You lied to her too. You told her I was already getting divorced. You said I was single. My dad stood there quietly, then finally said, Igor, pack your things. What? Pack your things. You're leaving.
Now.
But this is my daughter's apartment, Dad said firmly. You don't live here anymore. Valentina tried to speak. But they're husband and wife. They were husband and wife, Dad interrupted. After today, it's over. I just stood there in silence. I couldn't believe this was real. Just an hour ago, Igor was screaming at me, calling me a cheater, throwing me out. Now he looked destroyed, sitting there like a man who'd just lost everything. Igor, I said softly, I'm ready to hear your apology. He looked up at me, his eyes red with tears. Tatiana, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't understand. You didn't know your mom was planning this for months? I asked. You didn't know you were cheating on me for 3 months? She told me you cheated too. She said I couldn't handle it. You're 37, Igor, I said firmly. You've got your own eyes, your own brain. Couldn't you figure it out? I could, he admitted, but I didn't want to. It was easier to believe you were the one lying. He looked down again. Marina is young, pretty, she looks up to me. Says, I'm amazing. And you stopped looking at me like that a long time ago. There it was. The truth. He got bored. He wanted something new. And his mother gave him the perfect excuse. Okay, I said. Thanks for being honest. Now pack your things. Tatiana, maybe we can still fix this? No, I said. We can't fix anything. I'm filing for divorce tomorrow. It took him 30 minutes to pack. His mom sat in the kitchen, quietly crying. Her big plan had failed. And now her son had no wife and no apartment. When they left, I sat down on the couch and started crying. My dad sat next to me and hugged me. You did the right thing, Tanechka, he said gently. Dad, why does it hurt so much? I asked. I already knew he was cheating. It's one thing to know, he said, but another to see who he really is. You lived with a man you didn't even know. For 5 years, I whispered. I thought we had a real family. A real family means trust, Dad said. But you were living in a lie. I wiped away my tears. How did you know what was happening? You told me about your suspicions 2 weeks ago, he reminded me. You called late one night when you couldn't sleep. He was right. I had called him and shared everything I was feeling. I told you to record your conversations with your mother-in-law, he said. And I hired a detective, Valery Nikolievic. He's a good professional. We've worked together on several cases. So you knew what was going on? I suspected it, Dad said. Valentina Ivanovna is predictable. People like her always follow the same patterns. We sat in the kitchen and talked for hours. Dad told me how the investigation went and what evidence the detective found. I was shocked. It really had been a serious plan against me. What will happen to Marina now? I asked. She'll find out the truth and leave him, Dad said. She's young. She'll find a decent guy. And Igor? He'll stay with his mother and regret everything. But men like him rarely change. A week later, I filed for divorce. Igor didn't fight it. He knew he had no rights. The process was fast. No shared property, no kids. Marina did leave him after finding out he was married and had lied. She even came to my place to apologize. Tatiana Viktorovna, I'm sorry. I didn't know he was married. Valentina Ivanovna told me you were already divorcing. I'm not mad at you, I said. You were lied to, too. Thank you, she replied. And if you ever need a witness in court, I'll tell the truth. But we didn't need her. Igor admitted everything. His mother, Valentina, tried to make things right. She called and asked for forgiveness. But I didn't forgive her. After everything she did, I couldn't have any kind of relationship with her. A month later, they moved out of town. Igor lost his job. The scandal had become public. Everyone knew what he and his mother had done. In a small town, people don't forget things like that. I stayed alone in a 3-room apartment. Work was going great, even better than before. Without family problems, I could finally focus on my projects. My coworkers felt sorry for me and offered to set me up with good men, but I wasn't interested. I had lost trust in people. If the person closest to me could betray me like that, what could I expect from others? Dad visited often and cared for me. Sometimes he'd say, "Tanechka, don't shut yourself off. Not all men are like Igor." "I know, Dad," I'd answer. "But I'm not ready." Time passed. A whole year. The pain slowly faded. But I got used to being alone. I stopped dreaming of a family or kids. Too risky. Better to live alone than go through that kind of betrayal again. Sometimes I ran into people who knew Igor. They said he now works as a salesman in another city, lives with his mom in a rented apartment, and tried to date again, but it never worked out. His reputation was ruined, and people finally saw his true nature. I didn't feel sorry for him. Everyone got what they deserved. On New Year's Eve, I was at home alone reading a book. It was snowing outside, and fireworks were going off. People were out celebrating with their families. But I was alone.
And that was okay.
The phone rang around 12:30. It was my dad. "Happy New Year, sweetheart. How are you?" "I'm okay, Dad. I feel calm." That's what matters. Peace of mind is everything.
"You know what I want to tell you?" he said.
"You did amazing. Not every woman would have handled it like you." "Only because you helped me," I said. "No, you did it yourself. You didn't break down. You didn't become a victim." After we hung up, I looked out the window. The city was quiet under the snow. Somewhere out there, my ex-husband was probably celebrating, too. I wonder what he was thinking. Did he regret it? It didn't matter. That story ended for me the day I saw his true face. Everything after that was just paperwork. I turned off the light and went to bed. Tomorrow was a new year, a new life. A life without lies, without betrayal, without fake love. A life alone, but honest.